Welcome everyone to today's episode of Lo Vamos a Orar. We have a very special episode today. We're filming in English. We'll be preparing an English podcast for all of our great viewers. Today we're going to be talking about something very, very intimate and special and something that impacts every family in America. And it is the financial system, how it works, how to do things the right way, and the different aspects of the financial system. Today with us we have Saidi. Saidi, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. And I'm a mortgage underwriter among many things. I've carried many hats throughout my life. And so my specialty is the mortgage industry. As an underwriter, auditor, I'm a fraud analyst, I'm a forensic underwriter, due diligence underwriter, I do QC underwrites. And after being trained with Freddie Mac in 2003, after all those years of raising my family through that blessing of having that wonderful employment, and I've come back face front to help the Latino community. And of course, anybody, I don't want to keep it, and I want to keep it diversified. So it's me bringing information and knowledge to the community to understand how this industry works, because there's a lot of hidden questions and answers that no one has access to.
Yeah, the financial industry can definitely be a black hole to anyone that doesn't take the time to educate themselves on it. I mean, we've seen the financial housing crisis.
Absolutely. I was underwriting during that time.
Yeah.
I remember underwriting in a small room. I'm not sure if you're aware, underwriters are very protected. Nobody really has access to them. They're not known as being like the kindest people, and there's a reason for it, because you don't want to have anybody that can have access to them to change their mindset. So there's a reason why we're so protected. It's to protect the risk of the monies that are being lent and everybody that's involved in the transaction. So I remember during that housing crisis, before it hit, looking at the applications and looking at the guidelines and knowing numbers were getting inflated and thinking like, wow, this isn't good.
Yeah, definitely very sensitive, and it affected a lot of people here in America.
Yes, it did.
So why don't we start with something simple? If you could just give us an overview of your understanding of the financial system here in America.
To me, of course, because I love this industry so much, and I feel so blessed. Like when I tell you I'm blessed, I really feel blessed to have been formed part of it, to have given the opportunity to train in it. So to me, there's no better financial system than the one we have here in the States. But it's also knowing how to be responsible with it and being respectful of it, and understanding that sometimes things are put into place to protect us. And it's just having, that love, that mutual respect, like I said, for it, and understanding it's been implemented for a reason.
So for example, when we talk about credit, if you mention the word credit to someone, they may think it's just credit or how much they're able to take out. What would you say is really the definition of credit?
Wow. So credit demonstrates capacity and capability and credit worthiness to make sure that you can, it's everything about you, really. It represents who you are when it comes to payments. Are you on time? Are you late? If I'm an underwriter and you've been late on your car or on your credit cards, which we call revolving debt, in the past month, 3 months, on a $35 payment, and you've been late many times, when I look at that, how me as an underwriter am I going to be able to say they're going to be responsible with this mortgage? They're not. It's already demonstrated on your history. So there's so much involved with credit, that's why I'm doing all these classes I'm doing. It's because, like I said, the system was set up for a reason. And when it comes to credit repair, that's another thing where people are like, it's like a black hole, because they think it's the same thing, but it's two different concepts when it comes to the mortgage.
So what are some common mistakes that you've seen or some bad advice that people have received when it comes to credit?
One of the worst advices that I would say is to pay it down to zero. You don't do that. I know a lot of the credit companies are saying, well, we want it to 30% utilization. This is how I see it as an underwriter and how I explain it. Okay, 30% utilization. Let's say you have 3 credit cards for $10,000 a piece, and you can bring them to $3,000 each. You've got $7,000 on each card that after you buy the house, you can go max out, and you're going to, because you're going to want the pots and the plants and the furniture. You're going to max them out, and we know it. But when you max that out, guess what's going to happen? Your payment is also going to go up. And if we've already done the DTI when we calculate how much you can spend based on your income, then sometimes the last thing that might get paid is that mortgage. So it's not good to go 30% down. We prefer 50%. So, and then I see the credit score improve, But 30% low in asset utilization it's a concern, especially if they have high credit limits.
Understood. Yeah, and definitely wouldn't recommend for people to go out and purchase a vehicle before they've finished signing on the house.
No, do not buy a car, please. I've denied a loan. Me personally, I've denied a loan because we have managed to get you to where you're qualifying. It's 2 days before you're going to close, and then all of a sudden we do pull credit again. Please know it's the first pull is there, but right before you're going to close, the companies go back and they do a repull. And if you have an inquiry, they're going to want an explanation of that, a letter of explanation. And then we're pretty much, if you're looking for a car, we know you're going to purchase. So we're going to ask for the statement, and once we see that payment, if you're right there on the DTI and that payment's increased, you're denied for that house. So always wait, one thing at a time. I recommend always the house and then the car, but be responsible with your credit also. You don't want to indulge. Just because you picked up the house doesn't mean, oh, my credit's perfect, I'm going to finance everything. That's not very responsible, because as we know, life changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Life changes. And I know that's a mistake that I've seen a lot of people make, for sure. So let's get into some of these details. Loans and mortgages, that's an important part of the financial system. And I know that the American dream for many people includes being able to own their own home. Mm-hmm. So why don't we get into some of the details as to what is DTI and why does it matter?
So the debt to income ratio, the way it's been established, and we have jargon or abbreviations in the mortgage industry. So DTI is the debt to income ratio. We have the front end DTI, and then we have the back end DTI. The front end DTI is the one that demonstrates the payment of the property that you're going to purchase. It's property, like the taxes, insurance. HOA is one of them. Mortgage insurance has to be included, principal and interest. And we calculate that based on the income that the customer has. So that's the front end. And then we have the back end, which is we throw in all the other expenses that you have, credit cards, car, and we put that into the equation. So we have two that we go off of.
Is there any additional information that you take into consideration when you're evaluating a client, their credit worthiness, and whether they'll be able to get approved for a loan?
There's a lot of things. One of them is child support. Do you pay child support? Do you receive child support? They both affect. If you're receiving child support, we want to be able to demonstrate that it's going to continue for 3 years. And the same with like the payment. For how long are you going to pay for it? If it's about to end, then it's something that can be removed from the calculation. But it has to reach that limit, that's allowable to remove that debt of child support. It's very important for me to add, we've got many, many different programs. I'm not only a conventional underwriter, but I'm also a non-QM underwriter. So not only is it the FHA, the VA, the USDA, the regular govies that we call, which are Freddie, Fannie, but then we go off and we do non-QM, which are the ones that the programs allow you to be a little bit more creative. As long as we're doing everything correctly, because we want to make sure that documentation supports what we're saying and there's no fraud in it.
And do we still have programs for first-time home buyers?
Yes, we have many different types. Right now, there's one that I'm working with, the Harris County. I've been approved to be a loan officer with them, and that one offers a certain amount of monies that the clients can get. I'm working on a customer and we're looking to see if we can get $23,000. It's a grant. It is free money, but like with everything, there's a responsibility. So they have to have a lien on the property. They would come in second place behind the first mortgage. And then you can't sell the house. It will allow you to refinance as long as the amount of the monthly payment is going to be less than $50. So it has to show that difference, right? But it's free money. You can't go and sell your house and get that money back, So, but it's a great opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's critical for people to be able to connect with people like you to really understand what programs are available to them. What about down payments? There's a lot of information out there as to recommended percentage of down payment, or people put out, say, $0 down payments for homes. What's the real recommendation?
You have to be very careful because there's a lot of information out there is just to get the client in. And that's one of the things that I don't like, because you'll see a lot of people repeating phrases just to get the customer in. And then once they get them in, it's just to pretty much see, who hits, who sticks on the wall and who they can work with. But with the down payment assistance, we do have, like the FHA, if you have a 580 or above, it's 3.5%. It's been like that forever. And then you've got the Fannie Freddie, which is the conventional ones that to do the 5%. But then you move into the non-QM, and it's dependent on how much you have to put based on your credit score. And these are thinking outside the box, so they're going to have a little bit higher down payment. But then you have the down payment assistance that you can get a first and a second, but everything's a cost. So those down payment assistance programs are not free. You're paying in the rate, it increases a little bit on the first mortgage and then on the second. The ones that are free money is that grant that I mentioned. So don't always think that your down payment assistance is free. One of the things that I've noticed, I see realtors very excited because they've gotten you $1,000 at the table cash. You're paying for that money. That's not free. You're paying probably 3 times, 4 times double of that. So it's always good to walk away without any cash back,
And when it comes to the down payment, when does PMI come into the equation?
So usually the requirements are that if it's above 80% LTV, PMI is required. Everybody has an opinion, everybody likes them. One of the things that I don't like with FHA is that if you have the PMI, what we call mortgage insurance, we call it mortgage insurance. With FHA, it's on the life of the loan. Whereas with like Freddie, Fannie, conventional, and I was trained by Freddie. So you can have that removed when your loan to value, which is what we call the LTV. When that hits 80, you can have it removed, and by itself, it'll be at 78.
Great information. And one thing that people don't always get to hear is, what are some of those reasons to why they're getting denied?
There's so many reasons we could deny a loan. It's all about the guidelines. It's all about just, there's so many things. Loans really don't get as denied as you think they would, Like my specialty is to prepare the customer to get them to approval, however long it might take, doing it the right way. But that's one of them where you go out and get a car and your debt to income ratio exceeds. Loss of a job. Loss of a job is one, The house might not appraise properly. There might be issues with the house. So it's not only the customer that has to qualify. The structure itself also has to. So that's one reason. Not having sufficient funds for closing. Those are some among, a lot of them. Not providing the documentation. Because here's the thing. There's a lot of competition or, like my fellow loan officers out there. Everybody's trying to make money, You can't really say they might not know. Some are not trained properly. Some are lack of knowledge. I've been blessed to learn all the guidelines, so it makes it easier for me. But they're just trying to get someone into the house. They're just trying to feed their family. The thing is, they'll do a quick pre-qual. So you tell me quick questions. You've got the realtor then on top of them, like, hurry up, I want this pre-qual. I want to show houses. But the documentation hasn't been supported or verified. So now you got a pre-qual in 2 minutes. They're happy. They're going to look at houses, and then they look at a house and they might not qualify for it. or their credit might not be sufficient. Or a big thing with the Latino communities, the status might not be there. So that's what helps me being Latino and understanding our culture also is understanding how we have to provide the proper documentation, to fit those guidelines in the programs.
For sure. On the documentation for some of our working families here, they're self-employed. They've got their own small business, whether it's painting houses or washing cars or etc. What is some of that documentation that they should bring to you to be able to get approved for a loan?
So it's dependent because, like I say, I like to structure my customers properly per the program. The first thing I'm always going to do is I'm always go to the basics. And the basics are you're self-employed, you want the last 2 years income tax returns, and the current year's profit and loss, the year-to-date earnings. And we'll review that, and you have to be very responsible with who's doing your income tax returns. When you sign those, you're stating that information's accurate. So please make sure the information is correct. Now, with that, sometimes these income tax returns come with so many deductions that they don't qualify to buy a house. Now, if your credit score is high enough and we can get you to a non-QM loan, we can go 12-month bank statements. The guidelines do allow that. So now we're switching the program, and based on your bank statements for the past 12 months or 24 months, we're doing calculations of all the deposits. And then with that, we'll see if you qualify. And more sufficient than other times they do. And they have a bigger down payment.
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely a sensitive topic when we're talking about taxes and who we're trusting that's doing our taxes, not just our taxes, but if the same individuals or same company that's doing our taxes, it's also handling our financial statements. I've definitely heard several instances where they say, hey, you want to show a loss on paper because I'll help you with your income taxes. And it may, and if you're using cash for all of your transactions, that's not going to be an issue. But then you get into having discussions with the loan officer who's seeing consistently losses on your financial statements. That's going to be a red flag for a loan officer.
Absolutely. More for an underwriter, because the loan officers, unless they're very, very seasoned, and there are great loan officers out there, they don't know how to catch those things. I'm building a team of loan officers where I want to teach them how to think like an underwriter, because these are things that should be caught before. You put your earnest money deposit down and you go looking at a house. Everything's not perfect. We all can't always catch everything, but at least try to, So yeah, those losses are important, because if you're constantly overdrafting your bank account, that's just like negative credit payments. So it doesn't demonstrate a responsibility, in certain aspects.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's a very sensitive topic, and we want to make sure that they are reaching out to individuals that want to help them, not necessarily just how to get more on your tax return, but how to do your taxes the right way. Right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, Uncle Sam will get his money.
Absolutely, always, always first. And then it's like they know what they're doing. Uncle Sam and the financial system, they know the trick, they know what's played. But we are doing things appropriately as per guidelines. It's very important me to add, know where your losses are going, because as an underwriter, I can review something, and if you're throwing like $5,000 in clothing, maintenance and things like that, and you're not putting maybe that money to, like, you've got an office, say you're a roofer, and your wife is at home, and you've got a place where you're doing an office, and you got the printer, you've got everything. That's something that you can put as an expense, and it's legal. The IRS allows it. That's an expense that I can use back in as income. So it's knowing, it's not about just throwing all these expenses just to make the numbers go down. You have to be responsible with them too.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a lot of areas in the tax system that allow us to work legally within the tax system and operate the way it should. Similarly, the Bible wants us to be fruitful.
Exactly.
And so we just want to make sure that we're using the system wisely. Mm-hmm. What are some, moving away from loans and mortgages for a second, what are some good habits that people should create financially in their home?
To me, one of the biggest things is honesty. And honesty is a habit that you live by, that you speak by, but you can almost demonstrate it in your paperwork. And that's something that's always going to bring fruit back to you. You know, if you do things right, we know you walk the straight path, everything's going to work out. So please do not try to avoid anything because, like they say, the light always comes out. So stick with the truth, honesty, and just work in that manner with anything. Customers, your paperwork, your decisions.
Absolutely. Financial planning and education is one of the most important aspects when you're living in a system, capitalist system like the one we live in.
Yeah.
It's definitely much different than the systems from a lot of the countries that we come from, right? Being immigrants.
Absolutely.
You know, this country allows you to get into debt very easily. Mm-hmm. In our countries, interest rates for loans are in the 20, 30, 40%, and that's not something that's regularly seen here, you know, unless you're reaching out to Shark.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is where the U.S. was at 30 years ago, 40 years ago, now the credit cards are being allowed to do that. And that's why they did the predatory lending and we had the housing crisis, you know, because there had to be regulation. All this is necessary. Because we got great people that could use it, but people that are going to take advantage of it, you know. And they always take advantage of the ones that have less knowledge of how it works. But yeah, and I know, like, I'm from Costa Rica, and they're still doing that where there's no caps on the rates.
Yeah.
So it takes a while for them to catch up to our system.
And we're a consumer-driven system at the end of the day, and I think some people are caught by surprise when they come here and they start seeing the amount of credit card offers that
Yes.
they get in the mail.
Yes.
And how easily it is to get approved for one of those. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, $400, $500 credit limit.
Yeah.
And immediately think that's free money.
Yes.
And go out and spend 100% of that. Yeah. And they've got to remember, right, that there is a system behind that.
That is true.
You know, there's a credit check that still will go towards getting that credit card. The percentage of utilization mm-hmm. will still matter for your credit. The amount that you have to pay back or start
Yes.
paying interest on it.
Yeah.
It's consumer driven.
Yeah. One thing I would like to add, because I do feel there's a misconception, especially in the Latino community, because we're big on not financing things. Everything's paid cash. You know, if you don't have the money, you don't buy it. But wonderfully, the system's set up to know how to take advantage of it, you know, responsibly. One of the things are, if you open a credit card account and you've got your limit, go use it. Don't max it out. Use half. But make the monthly payment. Do not pay the balance off. If you pay off the balance completely, you're not demonstrating a credit history. The way you demonstrate a credit payment history is by every minimum payment. That's what shows responsibility. Because if not, you're just borrowing money and paying it back and nothing's happening. So that's important to know.
Yeah, there's definitely many different schools of thoughts when it comes to credit cards. I know if you listen to Dave Ramsey, for example, mm-hmm. he's 100% against credit card, very radically against credit card. I think the difference is if you're able to teach individuals how to use credit cards, right, and have this communication like we're having right now,
yes.
Then it would be appropriate for them. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it feels like it's harder for them to come and have those discussions, and they're taking out the credit cards and maxing them out, not making the minimum payments, and then taking out another credit card, doing debt consolidation, and then taking out more credit cards afterwards. I think that's where the radical thought comes in sometimes, which says, just stop. Yeah. No credit cards.
It's true, but think about it. It's not the system nor the credit cards that's the issue. It's your habit. So it's like overeating and all that stuff, you know, or addictions and everything. You've got to know when to be responsible with it and work on that, you know. So it is like when we're going back to the Bible, you know, all the stuff internal that you have to work with. Yes, it'd be nice to go spend $10,000, but can you afford it? Can you afford the payments? Is it a responsible thing to do? You know, so those are the things that should be in question, you know. And I don't know if it's so much about not having it, because we do need it to go, even for businesses. It's important to have good credit to go and finance certain dreams. But it is important to follow through and think about it,
I think you mentioned the key word there, which was change your habits.
Yes.
Right? We can go to church every Sunday and say we're churchgoers, right? But if we don't believe in the word that we're listening, and change the habits, change who we are,
Yes.
then it makes no difference, right? People can
100.
then take out 3, 4, 5 different credit cards, max them all out, take out a Macy's credit card,
Yeah.
and a Home Depot credit card, and a Kohl's credit card,
Yes.
max all of those out, because the system will allow you to take out those credit cards.
It will.
And then it puts you in a situation where you're in financial struggle.
Yeah.
And it's easy to blame the system.
It is. It's easy to blame anything other than taking responsibility for your actions. Like, God has placed a calling on me lately, and it's been very strong, and He keeps telling me to be obedient, especially in the past couple of weeks. And that's one of the things, and like, I'm going full blown into this. I'm really giving Him my all and letting Him guide me. And one of the things is, because I'm listening to a lot of sermons and things, and I'm talking to Him and listening to Him, and one of the things is knowing that we are of the flesh, and then we are of the Spirit. So, like, I have an issue with food. I love to eat. Like, I love to eat. I enjoy eating. So now it's like this week I've gone to bed 2 nights, and I'm telling you, I am praying to not go into that kitchen. And I was like, this is harder than you think it is. It's not just self-control. No, there's more in this, like, human soul, everything that's within us, and you got to learn how to work with that. That's the same of even those spending habits. We got to take a breath, try to hold off on that, because there's something greater within us, and we're at war with those little,
It's a need from the flesh and not the spirit.
It's hard. Like, if you want those heels, you want those beautiful heels. Like, I'm not gonna go spend $5,000 on heels, But like, I've met a couple women this month, which is funny, because they're like, I would much rather go out to a nice restaurant than to go buy clothes. And I was like, that's me. That's definitely me.
One question that I have here for you that I think is important to a lot of the people that are going to listen to this podcast that may have been renting for a long period of time at an apartment. What are some habits that they need to start making changes on right now, actions that they need to start taking on right now, so that they can look forward to owning a home?
Wow, improving your life in any which way that's out there. I will tell you, I'm a fan of seminars. I'm giving as much as I can to the community. I want them to come and learn. And I believe that in order to help you grow it, it's got to be with no price on it. That's where I find my servings at. So please take advantage of the programs to improve and better yourself. They are out there. I just spent 5 Saturdays being downtown, which is an hour from where I live, to come and learn how to set up my business, my entrepreneurship, make it better. For 5 weeks, I committed myself to do that for the betterment of my life and the community. So, and I didn't pay a penny. So please take advantage of that. You can't expect to make a change if you don't want to go in and take the necessary steps to make that change, however uncomfortable and inconvenient it can be for you. 5 weeks, they're done. Now I'm in a better place, and I have all this knowledge, and I met wonderful, wonderful people there. And associate, if you want to grow, it's very important who surrounds you.
Absolutely. Networking is key.
100%.
Who you're networking with is key. And having that good habit to want to improve yourself. Because there's a lot of those programs out there. Some require payment. Some are offered by nonprofit organizations that are set up to help people improve their financial knowledge and really all kinds of different knowledges.
Yes.
Just like there are, free English courses for some of our Latinos families, right? There's all
Yes.
triple levels of courses that would allow them to improve their lives.
Yes. Like it's really, and I know it's easier said than done, especially depending on where you're at. I've been in a rut. I've been at that place where it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I've had my highs and I've had my lows many times, with children, without children. So I know it's difficult. Like I do. But how did I get out of that one when I saw myself by myself? I'd gotten divorced. My kids were adults, and I was like, what is my purpose? I couldn't find it. There was no way. And I was just stuck in a place, and I had all this knowledge. You forget who you are. You forget what you know. All of a sudden and it's sad, you're just nothing, And I remember one of the things that came to me was like, Sadie, one step, one day. Do one thing one day. That's enough. That's all you need to do. But staying there for one day is not good enough. It's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, one word that I used to give my team all the time is improve 1% every day.
Yeah.
We can get better every day. Regardless of how much we think we know, we can get better every day. So if we improve 1% better every day, we're going to be a better person
100%,
down the
yes.
line. We're going to shift the conversation a little bit. I know we've talked about numbers and strategy quite a bit. There's a deeper side to this. Obviously, it's not just about the wisdom and the opportunities, but understanding that the provision doesn't come from the financial system. The provision comes from God. I want to read a word here from Deuteronomy 8:18. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms His covenant, which He swore to your ancestors, as it is today.
Amen. That's knowledge.
Yeah, it's a powerful word.
It is.
In your experience, what are some things that reading the Bible, knowing about our Lord, has helped you with in getting to where you are in your position?
My relationship with God has always been very internal, ever since I was a child. Ever since like the first time I felt like He spoke to me, I felt His love. So it's His presence in my life He made known. Maybe I was 6 at a very young age, very young, because I went through a lot of abuse and sadness and crying and felt like nobody was loved. So I had that intimate moment with Him once when I was crying and not understanding why I wasn't loved, and I felt it. I'm telling you, that's probably the most beautiful experience I've had, where He said, I love you. And that was enough to change my life. That's all I needed, was just that one person to love me. So throughout my life, throughout the, everything that happened, I saw His hand in everything. Where I'm at, and I'm sitting here today, I didn't do this by myself. This was always God's hand. He opened the doors. He set me up. My health, my intellect, my vocabulary, my strength, my everything, I have it because of Him, not because of me, So it's this person I am today He made. So my opportunities and everything have been because He's given them to me.
His love for us is unconditional.
100, yeah,
for sure.
amazing.
And He died on
There's
the
no
cross
other.
for us. And we're filming this podcast here right in the period of time when all of this happened, right? Really, the whole reason that we are here today is because of Him.
Yes.
So it's
heavy. It's a heavy,
powerful
beautiful
moment.
feeling. Yes, it is.
For sure. How do you personally involve God when you're making these decisions, or when you're advising some of your clients?
So I do pray. I don't do this by myself. I do pray. Luckily, all my loans have gone well, but it doesn't mean that they're 100%. I've had a loan that had been stopped in underwriting. I've had several, actually, for whatever reason, where I go guidelines and I go head to head with the underwriter, and I'm like, well, the guidelines state this. And they're like, no, but the guidelines state this, but take a look at this. Now, if that underwriter wants to say, I'm not signing off on it, they can. So that's where the point that I know that I can't do anything. I can only put my position and show the guidelines and explain, but then there's somebody else that's signing that loan. So at the end of the day, it's out of my control. I'll pray. I'll sit and I'll say, God, you're in control here. And thank God He always comes through.
Yeah, we definitely don't do things on our own. And I think that leads me to my next word, which is here, Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight.
Yes, he will.
So as long as we're putting our faith in him, right, we're praying about the decisions that we want to make. Really, that's the title of this podcast, right? Spanish, lo vamos a orar, is we're going to pray on it. Make sure that we're taking time out of our days, out of our weeks, to really listen to what he's saying.
Yes.
And make sure that we're making decisions, informed decisions, get as much information as we can on what it is that decision that we're going to make, and pray on it, right? Don't make decisions from an emotional state, right?
Yes, an impulse sometimes, or lack of knowledge, or a want. That's so important. With that, I'd like to add, be patient. Everything that is good takes its time. Don't rush. Do not lose that want to meet that goal because somebody said you don't qualify or you don't understand. It's asking the questions. Sometimes even the loan officers don't understand why they're getting denied on a loan, and the underwriters are not going to explain it. So don't give up is my message. Please do not lose hope. It might not be the moment, but the moment will come if it's the right thing. If it doesn't feel right, if the doors are closing, that's not where you want to go. So sometimes it's also allowing him to guide you and lead you.
It always has to be God's will,
Has
right?
to be.
And we think that we're making a decision and that that's the way that it has to be. But if we haven't taken the time to pray on it and really understand whether that's the path that God wants for us, then really sometimes we can put ourselves in some pretty bad moments. In situations where then we can't pay the mortgage, right? And we can't go back and blame our loan officers for having approved this, right?
No.
A lot of the issues that occurred during the housing crisis is people who were making $40,000 a year were getting approved for $400,000 or $500,000 homes.
Yeah.
Homes that they should have never been approved for. Obviously, the system was different back then, where there was an understanding from higher ups that everyone should be able to own a home.
Yeah, because it's money, commission.
Yeah, correct.
But there wasn't a responsibility to the programs. Like, the programs were meant to help people get into houses, but greed was the thing. We had greed with the loan officers, and they wanted to get more money. And when they saw it was simple, they started inflating, because these were no income, no asset loans. I was underwriting those at that time. And it got to a point where there was even such a thing on the application, which was a no-doc loan. And, or no income, no assets. We're not even stating them now. We're just not putting them in there, and everybody was getting approved. It was crazy. It was crazy.
There's a lot of information to read about everything that went down during the housing crisis. And it affected a lot of people. I mean, then you had individuals in bankruptcies, homes that were foreclosed. The amount of homes that were on the market at that time affected home buying as well, and home selling.
People lost their jobs in the mortgage industry. I sit back and, you've got the good guys and you got the bad guys and everything. And like, I had heard there were underwriters selling perfume at Macy's. Like, you had these people with top dollars, top titles, and everybody was like trying to fend for a part-time job.
Yeah. And that happens when we don't do things the right way.
Correct.
Right? Because we have a system, and the system's a tool, but God is the source.
Amen.
And we have to make sure that every action that we take, He's watching everything that we're doing. And we have to make sure that we're right and that we feel good about what we're doing. It's not just about the financial impact that we're going to have because we're going to get additional commission, but am I doing right by the person that I'm serving? Because at the end of the day, this is a service, right?
It is.
I'm sure that being in your position, it can be very emotional as well, because you're helping people often get into their very first home.
It is. It is very emotional. But you know what? I'm starting to notice that I have to feel the time is right also. this is really an internal thing. God knows our heart. And that's God will, you can't hide from him. You can't lie to him. He knows our intentions, He knows if our intentions are pure and if our intentions are to take advantage of someone. So I had a young lady the other day, and I'm now doing like in-persons, and I haven't, because I have to work my underwriting aspect and the servicing aspect, but now I have to remember, like, I've got this calling that I also have to bring more of the people aspect. So I get difficult cases. So I took the time to go meet her and talk to her. And she has a feeling, whatever that feeling might be, something internally is telling her that she wants to leave the house she's at, but she can't. So as she's leaving, I feel this, I look at her and I can see she's really distraught. Because she really wants to get out of this rental she's at, and she can't find her light, the way out, So I get up and I went and hugged her. And I said, the time is now. You're going to get your house. We're there. Don't worry. So it's like, I don't know where this came from, but I know she needed that hug. Like, whatever happened, but I had to give it to her because I could see something was going on. And I said, whatever you're feeling, follow it. There's a reason your spirit's telling you this. So we do serve in many capacities, I guess, unexpectedly. Or if you see somebody out there, like, I like to smile at people. Because I came from such abuse that I felt like my smile was the only thing that couldn't be taken from me. So if I see somebody walking, I'll smile at them. I'll look at them and I'm like, I've learned to go like, I love your dress, you look nice, or whatever. And it's called kindness. And we need more of that, It takes a second to say hello.
That's what I was going to say. It doesn't take much, but a second to be kind.
Yes.
And you don't know the impact that it's going to have on that next person.
It does have an impact. It does. All of the things we're going through, it's heavy right now. And my kids will be, it's easy to point a finger at this person or that person. But like I've told them, this is an issue of the heart. It's not one person or this side or that side. It's an issue of the heart. It's our heart, each person's heart. That's all it is, Can you imagine if more people were kinder to one another?
That empathy is key. We don't always know what that other person's going through. We really don't have much of the information. And I know I'm deviating a little bit here, but there was a video that I shared with my team on my work team. And it was a dad had gotten into a train with his two kids, and the kids were running rampant. And the only thing that the other people on the train could see is this dad, he's just letting the kids run around. He's not telling them to sit down. There's other people on the train. And then it shone the light on the dad. What he was going through was they had just gotten out of the hospital. The mom had just died.
Oh.
The kids didn't know, they're young kids. They really don't know yet how to react to that. He doesn't know how, what's going to happen now or the next day. That's the sort of information that if you don't take the time to be empathetic, that other people are going through things that you can't see,
yes,
then it's easy for you to judge, right? And say he's a bad dad.
Yeah. It is. That's so sad. It is. My signature line for my work email is "Be kind," for you don't know what that other person's going through.
Yeah.
And we have to take it in sometimes also,
Absolutely. Especially, like I said, in the space that we work in, which is service, right? We deal with people all the time. This has been such a powerful conversation. I know a lot of people are going to take a lot from this. What's a principle or a Bible verse that you would want us to leave here with?
Today I found one. Like, I got to share. I'm going to put my glasses on. And because I thought it was so intentional, for our message today. And it was Proverbs 24:16. And for though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. But the wicked stumble when calamity strikes. So, and of course, this has also put a little bit of my industry. You may get denied loans, deals fall apart, plans don't work. Take that in everything in life, You may feel discouraged or tested. But what matters is you stand back up with wisdom stronger each time. Please do not give up in anything in life. This is such an important message. I've gotten where I've managed to make sure my kids were fed, because that's one thing I did not give up, you know. So be patient with yourself, be kind with yourself, and you'll get there.
And do not stray. When you're falling down, that doesn't mean that you've got to start doing things the wrong way. It is important to always be true to yourself and be doing things the right way, and you will continue to get up. And he's continuously watching over us.
Yeah, that's true. I was at church yesterday, and one of the singers, like the main singers, it's the first time at that church, and I had wanted to go there for years. Like, my life is changing so abundantly and amazingly. And his story was singing this song that at one point he had been on the streets and he had been in drugs and God wasn't there. And now he's at a church, he's a pastor, and people through the hallways call him pastor. He's got a family, he's got a wife, and his happiness. And today I was driving and thinking about that. And it's not that God's not there. Don't think God's not there. He's there. He's always there.
I could ask, we talking about Dallas at Lakewood?
Yes. Were you there?
We were there yesterday.
Gosh, that was amazing.
We were there yesterday.
Amazing. But looking back through my life, through everything, it's not that he's not there. Sometimes we make the choices to not include him in certain aspects, but that's what I want you to know. He is always there. No matter what you're going through, no matter what your experience, as bad as your choices might be, he is there. So don't feel alone. That's my
wisdom
message.
comes from him. We just got to take the time
we
to
breathe
listen.
Because of him.
We got to take the time to listen. We got to take the time to pray.
Yes.
And the wisdom will come from him. And the discipline, like we were saying earlier, we got to, that fight between flesh and spirit is important.
Not
we got to
easy.
make sure that we stay disciplined and take direction for that something deeper.
I agree.
Well, I think this has been very powerful. Do you have any additional or final words that you would like to share with our listeners here?
My everything is kindness, smile, happiness. It's going to be okay. Help one another. There's a lot going on right now. There's a huge spiritual battle. You know, I'm sure we can all tell and we can feel it. Let's please make the difference. It isn't difficult to do the right thing. Please make that difference. You know, you can change somebody else's life so drastically. And un beso, comunidad. Se les quiere mucho.
Thank you, Saidi. And for our listeners, how can they get in contact with you? What's the phone number, social media information? What can you provide them with?
So if you want to contact me directly, my phone number is 346-419-3633. I'll repeat it, 346-419-3633. If you'd like to go ahead and apply for a loan, the link will be added here for you to be able to go start your own application. And I also have my business website, which is lendingourlatinosassistance.com. And you can follow me on social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and it'll be under my name, Sari, Sairy, Calhoun.
Make sure everyone goes to her social media page and look her up on YouTube. Watch the additional content to make sure that we're enriching ourselves with information. And this program is brought to you by Kangas Play Center in Katy. Thank you, thank you. I'll leave you guys with this. Matthew 6:33. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening today.